The screams of war and a mother's cry. Sky was burning. Red fire fell from the clouds. The sound of war filled the air. Loud blasts, screaming ships, and falling buildings. Everything was shaking. The alien planet of Varys, once full of peace, was now under attack. Zariah, a tall alien woman with blue skin and glowing eyes, ran through the broken city. She held her baby close to her chest. The child, only a few weeks old, was silent. He was scared. He could feel his mother's fear. Zariah had lost everything. Her mate was gone, her home destroyed. Now she had only one thing left, her son. She ran past fire and broken stone. She jumped over dead bodies, alien and human. The war had turned friends into enemies. The humans had come with machines and bombs, calling it justice. But Zariah only saw death. A loud sound came from behind. A human war machine flew above her. It dropped a dark metal bomb. Zariah turned and screamed. Boom! The ground broke under her feet. She fell. When she woke up, dust was in the air. Her head hurt. Her arms were empty. No, no, she whispered. She looked around, panic rising in her chest. Where is he? Then she saw it. The small baby blanket, torn, lying near a fallen wall, but no baby. Zariah crawled toward it, tears falling from her eyes. She picked up the blanket, held it close, and let out a long, painful cry. She called out his name again and again. Her voice echoed through the broken buildings. But there was no answer. She searched the ruins, blood on her hands, her heart breaking more with every second. Then something moved in the shadows, a shape, tall, wearing dark armor. It was a human soldier. He had seen her. Zariah stood up quickly, ready to fight. But the soldier did not raise his weapon. Instead, he turned and walked away quietly, holding something in his arms. Zariah could not see what it was. The wind blew. Fire cracked nearby. Her eyes were full of dust and tears. She fell to her knees, weak, shaking. My son, she whispered. He is gone. And in the dark sky above, the human ships pulled back. The battle ended, but the war had already taken what mattered most. Somewhere far from the fire, the human soldier stopped under a broken bridge. His name was Marcus. He looked down at what he carried. The baby alien, tiny, scared, with soft blue skin, opened his eyes. Marcus didn't know why he had done it. He was trained to fight, trained to destroy the enemy. But when he found the baby crying in the ruins, something inside him changed. He remembered his sister's child, the way babies cry the same, no matter the planet. He couldn't leave this one behind, not in the fire, not to die. So he took him. And now, Marcus was a traitor. Behind him, his team searched for him. They would kill him if they found out. He looked down again. The baby blinked. It's okay, Marcus said softly. You're safe now. I promise. The baby made a small sound, almost like a giggle. It gave Marcus hope. A strange, warm feeling in the middle of a cold war. But deep inside, he knew the truth. He couldn't keep running forever. Back in the city, Zariah stood on a broken tower. The night was quiet now. She held the torn blanket in her arms, like she was still holding her baby. She looked up at the stars. In her mind, she spoke. If someone kind is out there, please keep him safe. Her heart felt empty, her hope lost. She believed her child was gone forever, but she didn't know. Someone had heard her cry, and someone had answered it. Not with words, but with action. The soldier's secret asterisk. The wind blew cold across the silent moon. Marcus sat near the edge of a small cave, hidden in the rocks. The fire in front of him was weak, but warm enough to keep the child asleep. Wrapped in layers of cloth, the baby rested peacefully beside him, unaware of the war, the danger, and the betrayal around them. Marcus hadn't slept in days. Not because of the cold, but because of the voices in his head. Orders, screams, memories. He had once believed in the mission. He had trained for years to become a soldier of Earth's Union forces, to fight, to win, to survive. But everything changed the moment he found the child. Back then, he didn't think. He just moved, ran through burning walls, lifted stones, and followed a soft cry. And then, he saw him. Tiny, alone, crying under broken steel. The enemy's child. He should have called for extraction, reported it, left it behind. But he didn't. He lifted the child and looked into his eyes, bright, glowing, full of life. That moment rewrote everything inside Marcus. Something broke, and something was born. Now, every breath was a risk. Every step could be his last. He was a deserter, a criminal. He was hiding from his own people with an alien child in his arms. Far above the moon's surface, a small drone hovered, watching. It zoomed in on the heat signal Marcus's fire, inside a warship orbiting the moon. A commander stared at the screen. "We found him," she said coldly. "He has something with him." Her second officer leaned closer. "It's not a weapon. It's small." She narrowed her eyes. "Alive, yes. Very young." The commander frowned. "He's hiding something." She pressed a button. "Send a team. Quietly, bring them both." Back in the cave, Marcus felt something was wrong. He picked up the baby, now named Ral for short. It was the name his sister once whispered for the child she never had. Ral yawned, his small arms stretching. His alien features glowed slightly in the dim light. "You're growing fast," Marcus whispered. He had learned so much in those weeks. The baby was smart, stronger than human babies, faster to learn, more aware. And when Ral looked into Marcus's eyes, it didn't feel like raising a child. It felt like protecting the future. Suddenly, a sound, a distant beep. Marcus froze. The sensors he set up had caught movement. He wasn't alone anymore. He put out the fire quickly, grabbed his gear, held Ral tight to his chest. He whispered softly, "Don't make a sound." Then he moved through the cave's back exit, into the shadows of the rocks behind him. Soldiers landed silently. They moved with trained steps, their helmets glowing blue in the dark. As Marcus moved across the rocky field, his thoughts raced. He couldn't fight them, not with Ral in his arms. He needed a plan. He ran to an old outpost, a forgotten base from a past war. Inside, he activated the hidden console. A screen lit up, showing an old message signal, half broken, dusty with time. He cleaned it quickly and recorded, "This is Marcus Hale. I need a 07XA3. I'm not the enemy. I've gone rogue for a reason." He looked at Ral, then back at the camera. "The child I carry is not a threat. He is the son of an alien civilian innocent. I found him alone during the attack. He's not a weapon. He's not a target." His voice cracked. "I don't expect you to understand. I just want someone to know. I couldn't leave him to die. I made a choice." He ended the message and encoded it into a burst signal, sending it out across open space. Somewhere, someone would hear it. In a quiet corner of the galaxy, that signal reached alien space. Zariah, still in mourning, still staring at the stars, she heard the message. Her heart stopped. The voice of a human, but not like the others. And then the sound of her child. A small giggle, a sound only a mother could know. Zariah gasped. She dropped to her knees. It was impossible, but it was real. Her child, alive. She stood up, her eyes shining. "I'm coming," she whispered. Back on the moon, Marcus ran again. The soldiers were closer now. He reached the edge of a canyon, breathing hard. Suddenly a voice behind him. "Drop the child, Marcus." He turned. 3 soldiers, guns ready. The lead soldier stepped forward. "You don't understand what you're doing." "I understand enough," Marcus said, his voice calm. "You told me we were saving planets, but we're killing children. That thing is an alien. He's a child." Silence. Only the baby's soft breathing. The soldier hesitated. Then Marcus did something unexpected. He placed Ral down gently and raised his hands. "Take me if you want," he said, "but don't touch him." The soldiers looked at each other, and for a second, even with all their training, they hesitated, because in front of them wasn't an enemy. It was just a man, protecting a child. Zariah's Hopethi stars had not spoken to Zariah in a long time. Since the day her child vanished in the fire of war, the sky had felt cold, silent, dead. Every night, she stood on the high cliffs of her world, staring into space, hoping for a sign, but nothing ever came, until tonight. She stood alone in her crystal chamber, deep within the ancient ruins of Varus. Her body was still weak from grief, but her mind burned with a strange new energy, an energy born from something impossible. A sound, a signal, a voice. She had received it 2 nights ago, buried in noise, broken, faint, but she heard it, a human voice, full of guilt, full of truth. And then, clear and sharp, came the sound that shattered her world, a giggle, her child's giggle. She had memorized that sound. It was his. There was no mistake. She fell to her knees. The moment she heard it, the pain that had haunted her heart cracked open. Could it be? Could her son still be alive? Zariah didn't wait for permission. She stood now before the old StarCraft one of the last of her people's kind. The elders warned her not to go. They called it a trap, a trick, a human game. But she didn't care. She looked the High Elder in the eye and said, I do not care if I die. I will go. I will find him. I will bring my child home. They could not stop her as she entered the ship. Her fingers brushed the controls like an old friend. She hadn't flown since the war. Her race had retreated from the stars, broken by the violence. But this was no mission of war. This was a mission of blood, of heart, of hope. She sat in the pilot's seat, activated the engines, and took off, rising from the ruins of her city, cutting through the clouds and vanishing into the dark between worlds. Days passed. She followed the signal through dead zones and dust fields, across broken systems haunted by war wreckage. Her ship was old. Her supplies were low, but nothing could stop her. Each night, she replayed the message. This is Marcus Hale. I'm not the enemy. I couldn't leave him to die. I made a choice. And then her son's laugh. It lit her soul like fire. She whispered his name to the stars every time she heard it. Ral, my Ral. Finally, she arrived at the edge of human-controlled space. A moon. Quiet, cold, unknown. It was dangerous to land here. She knew humans would kill her on sight, but she had no choice. She landed far from the signal's last location, deep in a crater, where no scanners could find her. She stepped out onto the moon's surface. The ground crunched under her boots. Her eyes glowed in the darkness. She was alone, but she was not afraid. She would walk through fire to hear her child say mother again. Hours passed as she tracked the signal. She moved silently across the rocks, using her people's old tech to avoid human sensors. Every movement was careful. Every sound was watched. Then she found it. An old outpost. Human-made, half destroyed. She scanned the area. No one, but something felt alive. She walked inside. Her fingers touched the wall's metal, burnt. Her ears picked up something strange, soft, almost mist. A heartbeat. She followed it. And then she saw them. In the far corner of the outpost, Marcus sat on the floor. He looked up, and his breath caught in his throat. Zria stepped out of the shadows. Tall, blue skin, glowing eyes. Her face was not full of rage. It was full of tears. Marcus didn't move. He didn't reach for his weapon. Instead, he spoke softly. I think he belongs to you. She looked down. And there, sleeping in a warm wrap, was her son. Or Al. Alive. Whole. She dropped to her knees. Slowly, she reached out. Her hands trembled. She touched his cheek. He stirred. Opened his eyes and smiled. She gasped. Her body shook. Ral. She whispered. The child looked at her. And for the first time since the war, Zariah smiled. Marcus stood quietly. He felt a strange emotion he couldn't name. Relief, sadness, peace. Maybe all three. Zariah turned to him. She spoke for the first time. You protected him. Marcus nodded. I tried. She stepped closer. You had no reason to. He was your enemy. Marcus looked at the child. He was never my enemy. Silence hung in the room like heavy air. Zariah studied him. You are not like the others. I used to be. Why change? He looked away, because I saw what war really does. I saw what it turns us into. He met her eyes. I didn't want to become that. Suddenly, the outpost alarms went off. A red light flashed. They're here, Marcus said quickly. They tracked the signal. Zariah's face turned hard. Humans. He nodded. They'll take him, or worse. Zariah stepped in front of the child. Then we fight. Marcus grabbed his gear. Together. The meeting asterisk. The room was silent, except for the low hum of warning lights. Red pulses flashed across the metal walls of the outpost. Dust shook from the ceiling. Something was coming. Something fast. Marcus stood near the window, scanning the sky. His jaw was tight, his hands ready. Zariah stood behind him, her child pressed against her chest, her face unreadable. They had just met, enemies only days ago. Now, they stood side by side, not out of trust, but out of desperation. Marcus spoke. First, they'll be here in minutes. Zariah said nothing. Her glowing eyes followed his every move. He turned toward her. We can't stay. The baby. He's not safe here. I know, she said softly. Her voice was cold, smooth, like ice hiding fire. Marcus looked at her closely. He still couldn't believe it. The alien mother, the one who had lost everything, the one whose pain had haunted him every night. Now she was real, standing before him, and she had come for her child. I have a ship, she said. hidden beyond the eastern crater. Too far, Marcus replied. We'll never reach it before they land. We must try. Marcus shook his head. No, they'll track us from the air. He paused. But I know another way. Beneath the outpost, deep in the rock, was an old tunnel system, built during a forgotten war, now unused, abandoned, except by shadows. Marcus had found it weeks ago. No one else knew it existed. He looked at the child, Ral, still asleep in Ziria's arms. We go down, he said. Through the tunnels. If we're lucky, we'll come out near your ship. Zariah nodded once. Trust had not been given, but for now, it was earned second by second. The sound of ships drew closer, loud engines tearing through the air. Marcus opened the hatch beneath the floor. A long stairway of stone disappeared into the dark. He lit a small torch. Zariah hesitated, holding Ral tighter. She had walked through fire for her child. Now she would walk through darkness together. They stepped into the tunnel. The hatch closed behind them. The silence underground was heavy. Every footstep echoed. Marcus walked ahead, torch in one hand, rifle in the other. Zariah followed, silent and sharp-eyed. Her warrior instincts never rested. She studied Marcus as they walked. His back was straight, his moves efficient. But she saw something else. Pain. Guilt. A man haunted by what he had done and what he had saved. Why did you do it? She asked suddenly. Marcus didn't stop walking. You already asked me that. I want a real answer. He took a deep breath. I killed people like you, he said. I burned your cities. I followed every order. He paused until I found him. Zariah looked down at her son. Marcus continued. When I heard him crying, when I saw his tiny hands, I couldn't do it anymore. Zariah watched him in silence. I didn't save him because he was yours, Marcus said. I saved him because he was innocent. Ziria's eyes softened, just a little. You risked your life. Marcus gave a bitter smile. It didn't feel like a choice. Suddenly, a noise. Movement. Something in the tunnel ahead. Marcus raised his rifle. Zariah stepped behind a wall, holding Ral close. A red beam of light swept through the tunnel. A scout drone. Marcus fired once. A silent shot. The drone sparked and dropped. Delayed. They've been spotted. They're coming, Marcus said. Zariah stepped forward. Then we run. They ran through the tunnels, faster now. The ground shook as ships landed above. Soldiers would be dropping in. The outpost would be searched. They had minutes. Maybe less. Up ahead. The tunnel opened into a large chamber. Light broke through a crack in the ceiling. Beyond the chamber was a narrow escape route. One Marcus had mapped before. We go up and out, he said. Your ship's not far from the exit. Zariah nodded. But before they could move, voices, flashlights. Soldiers dropped into the chamber behind them. Marcus pushed Zariah toward the far wall. Go. I'll hold them off. No, she said quickly. You have to get him out, Marcus said. That's all that matters. Zariah looked at him. For the first time, truly looked, and then, without words, she handed him the child. Marcus blinked in shock. What are you? You fight better, she said. I run faster. She smiled, a strange, sad smile. Marcus stared at the child in his arms. Zariah turned, drew the silver blades from her belt, and stepped into the light. The soldiers raised their guns, and Zariah moved like wind. She spun, leaped, and cut through the air. Sparks flew. Shouts filled the room. Marcus ran, Ral in his arms. He didn't look back. At the surface, dust flew as Ziria's ship powered up. Marcus reached it. Breathless, he placed Ral in the seat, strapped him in, and powered the comms. Zariah appeared moments later, her arm scratched, her armor dented, but alive. She took the controls. Engines roared. The ship lifted into the sky, just as human missiles hit the ground below. From above, they watched the battlefield shrink. The war was still there, still burning, but in that small ship, in the silence between stars, a new alliance was born. Not of politics, not of peace treaties, but of something deeper, of two enemies, a mother, a soldier, bound by one child. The truth of the past ship drifted quietly between the stars. Inside, the silence was heavier than space itself. No alarms, no chasing soldiers, just the soft hum of the engine and the unspoken tension between two souls who should have been enemies. Zariah sat across from Marcus, her son sleeping between them. His chest rose and fell with gentle rhythm. He looked peaceful. Safe. But the storm wasn't over. Not outside, and not inside Marcus's heart. Zria broke the silence first. You know more than you say. Marcus didn't answer. He stared out the window, eyes fixed on distant stars. But his mind was trapped in memory. You knew my child's name before. I said it, she added. That made him blink. Ziria's voice was calm, but cold. What are you hiding? Marcus sighed. He stood, walked to the corner of the ship, and opened a sealed compartment. Inside was an old, damaged data pad, half-burned, marked with the Earth Union symbol. He brought it back and set it down. It's time, he said. And he told her everything. It began on the day of the attack. Marcus had landed with his squad in Sector 9, the heart of the alien city. Their mission, destroy all resistance, capture prisoners, take control. But something went wrong. They met no resistance, only civilians. Families. Children. Marcus had followed orders, leading his team through the streets. But then, they came across a small shelter, half buried under rubble. The cries of a baby came from inside. A soldier reached to throw a grenade. Marcus stopped him. Wait, he had said. He ran in, alone, and what he found changed everything. Ziria's home, her child, hidden in a survival pod, crying, covered in ash. The walls were scorched. The city was collapsing. She was nowhere to be found. Marcus stared at the baby for a long time. Then, he made a decision. He didn't call it in. He didn't mark the location. He took the baby and ran. But that's not all, Marcus said quietly. He tapped the data pad. It showed a hidden file, audio logs, a video feed, recorded by his body cam. Zria watched. Her hands trembled. The video began with static, then showed Marcus and his team outside the shelter. A voice came through the comms, cold, commanding. Sector 9 is a civilian zone. Proceed with Level 5 clearance. Leave no survivors. Ziria's eyes widened. Level 5. Extermination. Her people had begged for a ceasefire, offered peace. But Earth had come not to talk, but to erase. The video shifted again. It showed Marcus arguing with his commander. There are children down here. I found one. Not your concern. Hail. Orders are clear. This isn't war. This is slaughter. You question command again, and you'll be marked as hostile. Then the most painful truth of all. Marcus's voice, whispering into his private recorder. I can't do this anymore. I won't kill for silence. I'll save what I can. Even if they hunt me forever. Zria sat frozen. Her worst fears were true. Her people were never the enemy. They were the target. And Marcus had risked everything to protect one life, her child. She looked up at him. For a long time, she said, nothing. Then, a whisper. Why did you record this? Marcus looked at the child, still sleeping peacefully, to remind myself that I'm not a monster. Ziria's heart was torn. She had hated humans for the war, for the death, for the loss. But now, she saw one of them bleeding on the inside. Just like her. She stood, walked slowly to Marcus. And said the words he never expected to hear. Thank you. Marcus blinked. I don't deserve that. You don't. She agreed. But you still did what others wouldn't. She looked down at her child. Because of you, he lives. The moment was broken by a sharp beep. The ship's warning system lit up. Zria moved to the console. Her eyes narrowed. We have a problem. A new signal had appeared. Human ships, but not Earth Union. Something darker. Faster. The Black Division. Marcus's face changed instantly. Not them. Zria looked at him. Who are they? He swallowed hard. Shadow Group. Off the records. They don't follow rules. They clean up messes the Union doesn't want known. Ziria's voice turned cold. And your child is a mess to them. He nodded. They won't try to capture this time. They'll kill. Ziria's fingers danced over the controls. We can't outrun them in this old ship. Marcus stared at the screen. Then his eyes lit up. There's one chance. He pulled up a map. A dead zone nearby. An asteroid field, full of electrical storms and black matter waves. Too dangerous for big ships, too unstable for clean tracking. Zria smiled. Perfect. She turned the ship toward it. Marcus strapped himself in, one hand on Ral. Zria whispered, Hold on, my son. The stars began to shake as the ship entered the storm. Behind them, the Black Division followed. Faster. Colder. Deadlier. But the alien mother and the human soldier, once enemies, now flew like one, through lightning, through chaos, Through darkness. To keep one child alive. The chase returns. Asterisk. The storm was alive. Lightning cracked through the dark space like dragons made of fire. Asteroids drifted in chaotic orbits. Magnetic waves pulled ships like ghosts dragging their prey, and in the center of this chaos, Xeria's ship twisted and dived, flying between death and darkness. Behind them, 3 black ships followed. Fast, cold, unmarked. The Black Division. Marcus sat strapped into the co-pilot seat, one hand on Rao's chest, feeling the baby's heartbeat fast but steady. He's calm, Marcus whispered. Zarya kept her eyes locked on the storm. He trusts us. Outside, the enemy ships closed in. They're faster, Marcus said, eyes on the radar, and better armed. Xeria's grip tightened on the controls. They don't need to catch us, she said. Just corner us. A sharp beep, a red flash. Incoming missile. Xeria jerked the ship left, pulling it under an asteroid's shadow. The missile clipped the stone and exploded in blue fire. The ship rattled. Sparks flew from the ceiling. Marcus checked the child again. Still breathing. Still safe. Xeria's voice was calm, but cold. They want to destroy the child, even if it kills us. They don't know what he is, Marcus said. Zarya nodded. They fear what he could become. In the rear of the ship, Marcus opened a hidden panel. Inside, one final tool, a device he had stolen from the Union months ago, unstable, illegal. An electromagnetic pulse bomb. It can knock out their ships, he said, but it'll knock out ours too, Zarya replied. Yes, Marcus said, that's the point. She looked at him. You'll risk everything. He looked at Rao. I already did. Outside, the enemy ship spread out, a classic triangle trap. They're pushing us toward the center, Zarya said, the black hole zone. Marcus's face went pale. They'll use gravity to finish the job. Then we break the trap before we fall. Zarya flipped the ship. Backward dive. An impossible turn. Marcus held Rao tight. One of the enemy ships fired, but Xeria's counter move was faster. She spun behind the second ship and fired her cannons. Direct hit. One enemy ship exploded, swallowed by the storm. They weren't expecting that, Marcus said, breathing hard, but Xeria's eyes didn't blink. 2 more. The Black Division wasn't panicking. They adjusted. Smarter now. Colder. They knew this wasn't just a kill. It was a message. Anyone who protected the alien child would face death. No mercy. Can we use the bomb now? Zarya asked. Marcus shook his head. Too far. We need them close. We won't survive if they fire again. He looked at her. That's why we make them come to us. Zarya raised an eyebrow. You have a plan, a stupid one. She smiled faintly. My favorite kind. Marcus moved to the back, grabbed the bomb, connected it to the ship's core. Once I trigger this, he said, we'll have 15 seconds before blackout. No power, no weapons, no shields. Zarya said nothing. But they'll go blind too, he added, if we drop fast into the black zone right after. Maybe, just maybe, we drift out alive. Zarya stared at the storm ahead. No lights. Just shadows. A death zone. Maybe, she said softly. We gambled everything. Marcus smiled sadly. It's how I found him. Might as well bet the same way. The Black Division ships closed in 10 seconds. Zarya whispered something in her language. A prayer, a name, a promise. She kissed her son's forehead. Now, Marcus shouted. Xeria turned the ship into the gravity field. Marcus triggered the bomb. White light exploded through space. All 3 ships were blinded. Power dropped. Silence. For 10 seconds. No sound. No lights. No control. Just stars falling. Around them, the ship spun slowly. Everything dark. Rao whimpered once, sensing the shift. Marcus held him tighter. It's okay. We're here. Zarya pressed her hands against the dead controls. Her body moved by instinct. No gravity. No thrust. Just momentum and prayer. Then a light. One system returned, then another. Power. Xeria seized the controls. The ship roared back to life, just enough to push away from the black hole's pull. Behind them, the enemy ship spun, one already breaking apart in the storm. Only one remained. Zarya didn't wait. She fired both rear thrusters at full power. A slingshot boost using the black hole's edge. The ship screamed. Mel groaned, but it broke through. Into open space. Silence. Xeria slowed the ship. Marcus slumped back in his seat. Rao giggled. The child had no idea how close they had come. Zariah smiled for the first time in days. You really are a creature of chaos, she said to Marcus. He laughed, and you're not so different. Behind them, the last Black Division ship pulled away, to damage to follow. They were safe. For now, later, in quiet space, Zariah and Marcus sat together, the child between them. Zariah looked at the stars, then at Marcus. They'll come again. He nodded. Yes, they won't stop. No, she turned to him, that we don't run anymore. Marcus looked at her. What do you mean? Zariah leaned forward. We tell the galaxy the truth. We show them what they tried to destroy. She held up her son's tiny hand. This child is the bridge between worlds, between enemies. Marcus's eyes widened. You want to reveal him? Zariah's voice was steady. Yes, and you will help me. Marcus didn't reply at first. He looked at the child, then back at Zariah. I will. In that moment, they were no longer a soldier and an alien mother. They were something new. Protectors. Rebels. Family. A new beginning. Asterisk. The galaxy was watching. Not through news feeds or broadcasts. But through silence, through fear, through the uneasy calm that follows a storm. The story of a human soldier and an alien mother, once lost in shadows, was about to burn across the stars like a new sun, and at the center of it all, a child. Zariah's ship floated just outside the Council system, the neutral zone between Earth and the alien territories. Inside, the small crew prepared for a moment that could change everything. Zariah stood tall, dressed in ceremonial armor of her people, not as a warrior, but as a mother. Marcus adjusted the signal array, rerouting the ship's core power into a transmission feed that could reach across dozens of systems. Beside him, the child, Ral, watched curiously, unaware of the weight of history resting on his small shoulders. Marcus looked up. We're ready. Zariah nodded. Begin the message. Marcus hesitated. Once we do this, there's no turning back. Zariah's voice was calm. There never was. The message began. Across warships, science stations, trading ports, and border colonies, the feed appeared. Not with a warning, not with violence, but with the voice of a mother. To the people of the stars, Zariah said, I am Zariah of Varys. You may know my kind only as enemies or threats. You have heard we are monsters, but monsters do not grieve. Monsters do not cross galaxies to protect a child. She stepped aside. Marcus appeared on screen, his human uniform burned and torn. His eyes held the weight of guilt and truth. I am Marcus Hale, former soldier of Earth Union forces. I took part in the attack on Varys. I saw the destruction we caused, and I could not unsee it. I found a child, not a weapon, not an alien threat, a baby, and I chose to protect him, not as a mission, as a man. The screen changed. Clips began to play. Raw footage, never seen by public eyes. A baby, crying in ruins. A soldier turning away from orders. The mother crying into the wind. A child laughing between two races. The galaxy had never seen something like this before. Not propaganda. Not filtered lies. Truth. Unfiltered. Painful. Real. Back on the ship, Marcus ended the feed. Silence followed. Zariah said, now we wait. They didn't have to wait long. Within hours, Earth Union sent a response. A direct transmission. Encrypted. Urgent. Marcus read it aloud. You are ordered to surrender the child immediately. You are under arrest for desertion, conspiracy, and treason. He laughed quietly. They're scared. Zariah didn't smile. They should be. Then another message came in. Not from Earth. From a planet in the outer reach. A colony once caught in the war. It simply said, we saw the child. We believe you. Then another. And another. Dozens. Then hundreds. Aliens and humans both. A small rebellion of truth began to rise. Zariah turned to Marcus. The council will not let this grow. They'll try to silence us. Marcus replied. Zariah stepped toward the window, looking at the stars. Then let them try. Suddenly, alarms rang across the ship. Enemy ships detected. For Earth Union destroyers. The alien war cruisers. Both sides. Both afraid of what the child meant. Both closing in fast. Marcus's face turned pale. They're working together. No. Zariah said, they're afraid together. Inside the child's room, Ral sat on the floor, surrounded by floating data cubes. He wasn't crying. He was humming, softly, a tune Zariah had sung to him once. Marcus watched him. Does he understand? What's happening? Zariah's voice lowered. He understands more than either of us. The ships outside give warnings. Surrender the child. Power down your vessel. Comply or be destroyed. Zariah didn't respond. She walked into the child's room, kneeled beside him. He looked at her, small, bright eyes glowing. She whispered, "Are you ready?" Raoul smiled and touched her face. The ship's lights began to flicker. Marcus jumped. "What's happening?" Zariah didn't answer, because it wasn't the ship. It was Raoul. The walls began to pulse. The control panel shifted colors. The data streams bent like light and water. Raoul's small fingers moved through the air, not touching buttons, but shaping energy. Marcus stepped back. "He's interfacing. More than that," Zariah said. "He's communicating." "With who?" "With everyone." Outside, the warship systems flickered. Weapons powered down. Engines froze. Screens went black. One by one. Both human and alien. A pause. A silence. A voice filled their ships. Not spoken in any language, but understood by all. "I am not your enemy. I am not a secret. I am not a weapon. I am a child. And I am what you made me. Together. So I will not choose a side. I will become something new." On the bridges of every warship, officers stood frozen. Tears fell from some eyes. Others fell to their knees. The child had spoken into their hearts. And for a moment, the galaxy understood. Zariah held her son. Marcus stood beside her. The ship was no longer just a ship. It was a message, a symbol. The warships turned. One by one. Not because of fear, because of hope. Zariah looked at Marcus. "It's over." He shook his head. "No, it's just beginning." Months passed. Then years. The child grew. Between worlds, between races. He walked on human soil and alien crystal. He spoke in hundreds of tongues. And he never forgot the ones who protected him. A mother, a soldier, and the choice they made. And across the stars, a new alliance was born. Not out of fear, but out of love. Not because of armies, but because one child survived and changed everything.